Zomba is a city in southern Malawi in the Shire Highlands. It was the capital of the British administration before the independence in 1964. Zomba was also the first capital of Malawi and remained so until 1974. The city is best known for its British colonial architecture and its location at the base of the dramatic Zomba Plateau.
Walter Chikuni, the acting district commissioner for Zomba District Council. Yes, Zomba is a lovely district, and in fact, we always say Zomba is probably the warm heart of Malawi. When you look at Zomba, we may look at Zomba from the aspect of culture. Zomba, historically, the traditional inhabitants were the Manganja, but over the years, in the 1860s, the Yao people came, the Romans came, and thereafter the British came, and when it was declared a British protectorate, British Central African Protectorate in 1861, it was made an administrative center for the British protectorate. So when you look at those aspects of the British, the Manganja, the Yao, the Rome, the Asians, you'll find that Zomba is a heterogeneous society with varied cultures.
The rich history of Zomba is seen in its historical monuments. The ironic Gincana Club, built in 1923, still stands, providing recreation to residents and visitors. In 1975, a shift was made. The capital and administrative structure were moved to Lilongwe, which is now the renowned capital city, leaving the predecessor all alone with its milk and honey.
When you look at Zomba as an administrative capital as well, you'll see that the British made it a administrative office, principally the capital of Nyasaland.
Only later, in 1994, the parliament was moved following the shift. However, not everything was lost, as a new feature was added, the University of Malawi, which resurfaced Zomba as an academic city.
I'm Dr. Jawali. I am currently head of history department, but first and foremost, I'm a lecturer in history. I hold a bachelor's degree majoring in history from University of Malawi, graduated in 1998, and then I hold a master's degree in indigenous studies, majoring in economic history. I obtained from Tromsø University in Norway. Then I hold a Doctor of Philosophy in history, obtained from Stellenbosch University in South Africa in 2014. I have been teaching here since 2004, so I've been here for around 17 years. Zomba is quite a very good town. Apart from myself being an academic and being attached to Chancellor College, I think the place is ideal for studies. It does not have too many things that can disrupt a student, and moreover the climate is more or less this kind of closer to the what one may think of as some kind of Mediterranean climate, not so hot, not so cold, usually in the midway, and yeah, the people around also are generally nice. I think Zomba has been a place where the growing of coffee began in the 1880s, I think, by John Buchanan and others, and so later in time other white planters emulated the example of John Buchanan and alienated or took away land from the indigenous Africans all over Zomba and turned them into their own estates while converting the owners of the land into tenants as well as some kind of squatters, and in other cases they turned them into sharecroppers. So one would even want to find out what were the dynamics, the historical dynamics that led to the establishment of Zomba as a political capital, and later it was the political capital moved into Lilongwe. The landscape has sort of been changing. I think coming into Zomba in the 1990s, the landscape was covered more with vegetation, trees, maize fields, among other things. Moving from as people pass through the main road getting into Blunder, you'd see that there were lots of trees, among other things. But now, in more recent times, most of these places that had vegetation, that had natural woodlands, have been converted into places where people have built homes. So technically, Zomba is turning into more of it's getting more urbanized, with people building some kind of state-of-the-art residences along the roads as you may see them, and some have actually been built within some of the outskirts of Zomba. Of course, there are new buildings that are being built up in town to match that kind of situation whereby Zomba is getting more urbanized, with more people investing in infrastructures, building their retirement homes, among other things. But so, yeah, it is getting into what one would really call a kind of city in the 21st century.
Since its establishment, Chancellor College plays a mega role, molding Malawians into different fields and professionals, raising the Zomba flag higher. Standing 2,087 meters above the sea level is the Zomba Plateau. Mother Nature provides its gift of fresh waters. A modern dam was constructed to secure the fresh water. It is called the Murunguzi Dam. Surrounding the city is a diversity of flora and fauna, making the city a center of tourist attraction. Tourism extends itself from the Emperor's View, the Queen's View, the Chingwe's Hall, and the magnificent Kujawi Inn.
My name is H. Kanyongolo. I am Associate Professor of Law at Chancellor College, the University of Malawi. There are many things to love about Zomba, but I guess two things come to mind. One is the beauty of the place. This is one of the remaining cities in Malawi that is still green. I mean, with lots of beauty, the mountain, the lake, and it's not only beautiful to look at, but I think it's also beautifully structured in the sense that you have a mountain on one side which comes into the city, and then it ends up in the lake region, the Lake Chiroy region. So I think one is just the beauty, but two is the functionality of the place. Because it's relatively small, it means you can get around very easily. I mean, you can go from home to shop to hospital to post office to within a fairly short distance. So I think those two are extremely important to me. I mean, something beautiful to look at, but also something that is functional, something that makes it easier to get to work, easier to get to the market, and so on. So those are just two of the things. I mean, there are plenty more, but I would highlight those two.
Spreading at the foot of the mountain is the Botanic Gardens, where nature flourishes. Within it is a historic conjurer house built around 1890, presently called Masongola Hotel. To the east of Zomba city is an island basin lake called Lake Chira. In November 1997, Lake Chira was declared a Ramsar site by UNESCO. This lake supports marine life and other human activities like agriculture and fishing.
When you look at Zomba, you find that it has a rich historical as well as natural history. When you look at Zomba's Lake Chira wetland, it is or it was declared a Ramsar site, meaning it is an area or a site of international significance because of its fauna and the flora diversity. The biodiversity of the wetland is also unprecedented. You cannot talk about biodiversity in the country without referring also to the Lake Chira wetland. So all in all, Zomba is great. Zomba is rich history, natural resources, which are of economic as well as tourist significance.
As a city, it has one most guarded secret, the Chilema tree. It is a mystery, a puzzle that has never been solved.
I have said about what makes Zomba beautiful and good, but this is changing, and I think this is one thing that perhaps I would like to emphasize, that Zomba is changing, and therefore the things that I have mentioned cannot be taken for granted for a long time. I arrived in this town first in 1979 as a student, as a first-year student at Chancellor College. Zomba then was different from what it is now. So if I can point just at two things, for example, that are changing Zomba and in a kind of worrying manner. One is environmental degradation. I think that there's no doubt that that's one of the tragedies, I can almost call it without exaggerating, that has hit Zomba. Zomba Mountain now, which I mentioned earlier, is not what it used to be. There's been a lot of deforestation. One of the most beautiful places in Malawi, I think, is under threat, and it's almost already capitulated. It's not too late. I think it can be saved, but it breaks one's heart when one has been here for so long and can visibly see this change taking place. And the same has not spared Lake Chira, for example, which is the other beautiful place that I mentioned. I think there, because of the combination of all these negative environmental factors, Lake Chira is affected as well. The communities there are affected as well. And one can see why. Perhaps this is the major problem. I'm not an expert in the area, but maybe that's Zomba's challenge. I mentioned earlier, one of the advantages of Zomba is small, functional, but it's now rapidly changing as well. It's expanding. So within this fairly small space that we call Zomba, there's been a high population rise. With that comes the rise of other things. Traffic in Zomba. I mean, Zomba didn't used to have a traffic problem. Right now, if you try to go home at 4 o'clock, it used to take maybe 10 minutes to go home. Maybe it takes you 15, 20 now. Still better than Lilongwe, still better than Blantyre, but you can see the trend. You can see. So I guess the last point I'd like to make is that Zomba is beautiful. I love it, but it is changing. And it is changing in a direction that's not necessarily a good one. If I can be blunt, things are getting worse from that perspective. So I still hope that Zomba will remain beautiful a few years from now, but I'm extremely worried.
Zomba still flourishes today with its multicultural center with Malawians of all races mixing through trade, religion, intermarriage under one nation, Malawi.
In terms of economic significance, Zomba really lost. In terms of the visitors who used to travel to Zomba, in terms of business, you know, when Parliament was meeting in Zomba, people were flocking to Zomba. When government was constructing structures, it was being constructed in Zomba. So we really lost in terms of economic aspect of the communities, infrastructure, yes. However, the glory of Zomba still remains. It has the potential for growth. You may wish also to know that it is in Zomba where people officiate marriages outside the country and host reception in Zomba at our Kuchawe. So you find that Zomba, in terms of cultural, it is so heterogeneous that we really cherish, and it is significant to the country.
As others have alluded, Zomba is a sample of a mini-state.